Would you rather pay taxes on the seeds that you plant today or the harvest that you will reap in the future? On today's episode, we want to talk about the 3 tax buckets: tax now, tax later, and then tax advantage. But before we do that, we have an incredible story, a personal story that we actually want to share with you guys. So Ellis, let's kind of talk about our journey of understanding how taxes work. Let alone we didn't know how money works. We didn't know how to build wealth, but nobody really talks about how to properly dissect what to do when it comes to paying taxes.
Yeah, I mean, think about it, in school and coming up, they don't teach us taxes. They don't teach us credit. They don't teach us the different things that we actually need when we get into the real world, right? Yeah. So here I am now in the real world, okay? I graduate college, I get my first corporate job, and I'm working at my first corporate job for about 6 years. And so at the Chicago Transit Authority, you can get a pension. And so what a pension is that you will work a job for a certain amount of years, and then when you retire, you would get a payment for the rest of your life. Well, most companies have done away with pensions because it costs them too much money. Fancy that. You've given your hard work, dedication, overtime, many times working a job and not getting paid for the extra work that you did. I mean, I remember you, Jasmine, working 60, 70-hour work weeks, not getting paid anything additional, traveling 3 hours to, total, to and from work on top of your 8, 9, 10-hour workday.
Yeah, I think what's super interesting about that is I remember guys actually being jealous that Ellis had a pension and I had a 401k because your pension plan provided you with lifetime income. My 401k was, what you put in it is what you could take out of it.
That's right.
So you had a pension plan, you were working in your engineering job with the Chicago Transit Authority, and God blessed you with a new career opportunity.
Yeah, sometimes it can be scary transitioning, to a new opportunity. But at that time, it was just, I wanted something a little bit more, something different, new adventure. And so I decided to change companies. And so at that time, when I was leaving, the pension board called me and said, "Hey, Ellis, you got to move this money. You didn't work for us for at least 10 years to leave it here, so now you have to move it. And so you got 30 days. I said, "Okay, well, what do I do?" He said, "Well, try to roll it over to your new company." So I called my new company and they said, "Nope, we don't accept incoming transfers." I said, "Okay." So I went back to the pension board and they said, "Hey, they don't accept incoming transfers. What do I do?" They said, "Well, Ellis, we can't give you any further financial advice.
Yeah.
You have to do it." And I'm like, "What you mean? You got my money."
Yeah, and at the time, I can't remember if you and I were engaged or already married. Do you remember?
I think
question.
we were engaged at the time.
You're right.
Yeah.
We were engaged.
Yes.
But the reason why I asked is because I remember both you and I felt incredibly helpless. Mm-hmm. And we didn't want to owe the IRS any money. We weren't looking, to go into debt. But secretly, I was a little excited because we needed the money.
Yeah, and so we needed the money, but I was also like, man, I want to do the right thing because this is for retirement. I had already heard and seen too many horror stories. As a matter of fact, guys, I got hired. I graduated college in August of 2008. I get my first corporate job in 2009, and it's like I'm in the heart of the recession, right? Heart of the market crash. And so to get a job at that time, making 55 grand a year out of college was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And so, but anyway, I worked there for 6 years. It's time for me to move this money. I can't roll it over to the new company. So a couple of days later, I saw a commercial on TV for a financial advisor and I gave him a call. All right. And so I get on a call with the financial advisor and I say, "Hey, I got some money in a retirement account. I need to do something. I need to move it. Can you help me out?" And before anything else, he just like, "Sure, man, how much money you got?" Not trying to build any rapport, didn't ask me any questions, just how much money you got. How many of you watching this today have a financial advisor and that's just really all they care about? It's just how much you got, what you can do for them versus what they can do for you, right? So anyway, I tell them proudly, "I have $30,000 sitting in this account. Can you help me out?" He said, "Oh man, I can't help you. You got to have a minimum of $250,000 to talk to me." I say, "Well, is there anything?" Click. And he hangs up in my face. Just like that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, okay, well, all right. So if you know, or you don't know, any financial advisor, you got to have a minimum of $250,000 to talk to them.
I think I want to pause there for a second, because something that I never thought about until this very moment was the environment that you and I were in, like our lack of financially literate associations. We had literally nobody in our network among friends and family members to go to pick up the phone and call and ask for financial advice. And millions of Americans are dealing with that today. It's one of the reasons why we started this show. Yeah. They have no idea where to go to get credible, sound, wise financial advice. And that was you and I. So ultimately, what did you decide to do with the $30,000?
I'm gonna tell you, what happened, right? And so it's funny, like you said that. I mean, I'm at this point, I'm making more money than anybody that I know from my family. By having that engineering degree, being blessed by God to get into an opportunity to get me to six figures, and I called. So the financial advisor didn't work. I went to the bank next. It was like, well, if the financial advisor is not gonna help me, then I should go to the bank because they know money. Which they do know money, right? But when I get to the bank, they said, sure, you can sit down. I sat with a banker. I'm just like, I need to move this money over. And they said, okay, how much do you have? And I said $30,000. They say, oh man, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Same thing. You got to have a minimum of $250,000 to talk to the bank for retirement. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I leave the bank. So now I can't roll it over to the new company. A financial advisor won't help me. The bank won't help me. And it's too much for a Roth IRA because you can only put, I think at this point now, $6,000 a year into it. At that time, it was only $5,500. So I'm like, well, what do I do? And you may be on there thinking right now, well, Ellis just invested, buy real estate, put it in the stock market. Yeah, but there's just this one little problem that we forget about. It is under an IRS rule for retirement, which states that you cannot touch the money until you are 59 and a half. And if you touch this money before 59 and a half, not only will you get taxed, you will be penalized. All right. So anyway, the 30 days is running out. We need the money.
We're running out of options.
Running out of options.
What did you decide to do ultimately?
I'll take the check.
You took the check, guys. Okay.
Took the check.
Took the money. It was $30,000. By the time you paid the penalty and taxes, how much did you actually net? Like how much was deposited into your checking account?
10% in penalty, that's $3,000. 20% in taxes, that's $6,000. That's $9,000 gone. They give me a check for $21,000.
Yep. And I think think about it. You are a millennial. You are engaged. You are interested in buying a home. You completely lost sight of like long-term wealth building, reinvesting that money into retirement. Now it's, I have $21,000. What do I do? What most Americans do when we come into contact with large sums of money is we get out of debt. Or we invest in large purchases, down payment on a property, purchasing a car. So what we want to talk about today is the things we wish someone would have educated us about, which is understanding the 3 tax buckets, understanding how taxes work, but most importantly, how you can work taxes for your benefit. A lot of people don't think that. Some people, and we were that exact same way, we thought like, listen, this is the tax bracket we're in. We have no wiggle room around it. This is what we're set to pay, and that's it. So let's talk about the very first tax bucket.
So before we talk about the first tax bucket, I want to finish up the story.
Okay.
And so just for you to know, because you may say, well, Ellis, what did you do with the $21,000? And so what happened was, well, I put it into a bank account, a savings account, and just like we've shared on other episodes, that the bank takes that money and goes invest it.
Yes.
They go invest it into life insurance, real estate, lending with credit cards, mortgages. But what I did with the $21,000, I didn't think about investing it. I did, but I didn't really know who to turn to. And so eventually, we're engaged. We're trying to buy a house. So that means I had to pay off some student loans, bought some other
credit
things,
cards.
Pay off some credit cards, different things like that. And after about 9 months, guys, that $21,000 is gone.
Disappeared.
Just like that, in a blink.
Vanished.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
Jasmine wasn't too happy during that
No,
time.
I was like, where did the money go? But
And then also we did use a lot of that money to pay off the wedding as well.
we did. It certainly came in handy, but we paid a hefty price tag for that lesson.
We did. But also that was not the end of the lesson. So after the $21,000 is gone, then you have to file taxes the following April. All right. And so when I went to file my taxes, they said, Ellis, we see that you have this money here on your W-2, right? Your gross, however much, I think it was like 110, 120, whatever it was. And then they said, oh, by the way, you also got a $30,000 distribution from your retirement. I said, no, I didn't. They said, yes, you do. It's right here. I said, well, I got a $21,000 check. I already paid taxes and penalty. Yeah, but because you got that distribution, this throws you into another tax bracket. So you owe us another $6,000 in taxes because I had nothing to write off. My wife at the time, I wasn't married to her, so she claimed her daughter on her taxes. My child's mom back home obviously claimed our daughter, so I didn't have anything to claim. And I got hit again with taxes. But if I had known an insurance agent, I could have got something was called an annuity, which we've talked about as well, right? But to transition and go back to, now we want to talk about those tax buckets.
Yep, very first tax bucket is tax now. So some tax now accounts would be the stock market, mutual funds, your savings accounts. Yeah. So when you get your paycheck biweekly from your employer, taxes have already been taken out of that paycheck. That's what a tax now account is. By the time you get the money, Uncle Sam has already gotten theirs. That's a tax now account. Are there any tax advantages to a tax now account?
Just the fact that you ain't got to pay taxes later.
That's it. It's just the fact that you don't owe Uncle Sam anything, simply put, because they touch your money before you touch your money. That's a tax now vehicle. Many people are born into that vehicle, live their entire lives, and will die in that vehicle because they know nothing about tax later or even tax advantage. So let's talk about this. Go ahead.
I just wanted to share, even with the tax now, they take the money from us in our checks if you're a W-2. But normally Uncle Sam takes more than he needs.
Of course.
Right? And then we get a tax return at the, next tax season, but it comes with no interest.
Yeah. I think the whole concept of someone else touching my money before I touch my money is one of the main reasons I wanted to become an entrepreneur. Quite honestly, it was really unfair. Mm-hmm. It's a interesting concept because I also come from the side of, taxes are supposed to be meant to invest in education, healthcare, social programs. And I remember being a single mom, having to have the Medicaid card for healthcare for my daughter and I. So I do understand where some of the money goes, but one thing we know about taxes, can we predict what they will be in the future?
Nope.
So that could be an advantage for a tax now vehicle.
Right.
At least I know what the taxes are today.
Right.
The second vehicle or the second tax bucket is
tax later, right? And so things like that fall under tax later would be mutual funds, CDs, stocks, right? Those pensions,
401ks, 403b, annuities. These are all vehicles that are taxed later.
Right. So if you have a variable annuity with your job, it can be taxed later. And so you don't control that tax. So think about it. What if the taxes continue to go up and you can't control it? Let's say you have $500,000 at retirement in your 401k, but they say, oh, hey, guess what? We know 30 years ago that the taxes was 20%, but today, I'm sorry, it's actually 50%.
Yep.
And now $250,000 of your income is gone.
Yeah, I remember Ellis and I actually had a client who had been with her employer for about 30 years, and she had saved over $500,000 in her 401k. And she was super excited, starting to think about life beyond retirement. Where does she want to live? What type of car does she want to drive? What were some of the cool locations she wanted to travel? Well, once she realized that she got closer to retirement, that she had never paid taxes on that money, and she would actually be taxed 40% of that $500,000. she was pretty upset.
Yeah.
And we actually learned about her circumstance at a time, unfortunately, where it was too late. She had taken the 40% tax penalty, and the rest of the money, you know, she went on to live her life. But just imagine if we were able to sit down with her in advance and teach her about the third tax bucket, which is tax advantage.
Right. And so, you know, the tax advantage vehicle, there's a couple of rules, all right? Because, you know, you may say, well, how can you get into a situation where you don't have to pay taxes on anything? But there's a couple of IRS codes, all right? And so there's 3 of them. The first one is 7702, all right? The next one is 1018, and the third one is 72E, okay? And you may say, well, Ellis, what do these rules mean? 7702 allows me to grow my money tax-free, right? 101A allows me to, let me check the notes because I don't remember offhand.
No problem. So I have it here. 101A allows you to pass along money tax-free to the next generation. So let's say you have a death benefit. You have a life insurance policy that's $1 million. Well, you pass away, not you know, specifically, because I want you to live a long time, but the person passes away and the beneficiary inherits $1 million, which was that death benefit, and they don't have to pay taxes on it. So that's the IRS tax code 101A. And then, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and then 72E allows you to withdraw money tax-free. So 7702, grow it. 101A allows you to pass it on. 72E allows you to pull it out tax-free. And there's no other vehicle in America that can do all 3. All right. And the only vehicle that we know of today that does that is through an insurance policy, right? A permanent life insurance policy that allows you to do all 3 of those things.
So I really wish we would have known about these 3 tax buckets, because had we known, we would have invested our money in an index universal life insurance policy. And the reason you want to put your money into that vehicle, not only is it because it has the tax advantage, which Ellis just described, but your money can grow compound interest historically anywhere from 6 to 8%. You can, again, withdraw that money tax-free. You have death benefit protection, and your money is safe. That principal is protected. So I wish we would have known the 3 tax buckets: tax now, tax later, tax advantage. And if it's the life insurance industry, guys, tax-free.
You know, and to all of you out there that's watching this, here's what we want to tell you. We didn't know, but our biggest thing that we want you to do is take this information and actually put it to use. Because we've heard that knowledge is power. That's not true. It's the application of that knowledge, which is the power. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to reach out to us. Click the link in the bio. There's more information to schedule a time to talk with myself or Jasmine to help you implement this today. The problem is that people say, man, I don't know where to start. We're going to help you where to start so we can get that rolling, right? Because the more time that you wait, the more time that you waste, because we don't get time back. And what we do understand about wealth is we need time to begin to get that to grow for you. And you'll look up 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now and be like, man, I'm so grateful that I took the time to start. Don't delay. Schedule an appointment with us now so that we can help you get your journey started. Please make sure that you comment below, share this with somebody that you love and care about. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And until next time, let wealth and purpose drive you to prosperity.